Good morning, everybody. I'm Katie Nunez. I'm the Director of Planning and Zoning for the town of Cape Charles. We thank you all for coming today. We also have Jeb Brady, our building official, code official, is here with us. And Marianne Sofield, our treasurer, is with us as well. And we have some various staff, so it's informal. I am going to say we are recording this for posterity by request of my boss. He's asked that we put this on our website when we're all finished because we think we're going to get some really good information and questions coming in. Hopefully we'll have good answers coming out to you as well. So we want to make that available for reviewing again and again for those who may need it, who weren't able to join us today. So with that said, we do have coffee, drinks, snacks in the back. Please help yourself because we really don't want to take anything home with us. So finish everything as much as you can. If you haven't been in here before, our bathrooms are down that little hallway right here behind you. And with that said, I'm going to just ask everybody just to go around and introduce yourselves. And as we go through and talk to you about the ordinance that has just been adopted by the town council, feel free to ask questions as we go. Don't save them up to the end. Let's start getting them out early on so we're making sure that we're getting all of your questions answered that you need to know to walk out of here fully informed. So with that said, I'm going to start with you, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Summer Walton, and I'm with Blue Heron Realty, and I help Doug Griffin with vacation rentals. Ashley Gallo, work for Chesapeake Properties.
Christy Iverson, Chesapeake Properties.
I'm Marie Renaud, Bay Creek Rentals.
Sabrina Brady, Baker's Rentals.
Jessica Johnson, Bay Creek Rentals.
Okay, go ahead.
Judy Rodriguez, Coastal Shore Vacations. Susie Charnock, Coastal Shore Vacations, and Coastal Shore Real Estate.
Jose Gonzalez from Family Reunion on the Bay, the home we rented on Madison Avenue.
Okay.
I'm Ann Kyle Downey with Coldwell Banker Home Realty, which is partners with Cape Charles Vacation Rentals. And I'm Karina Morgan, Cape Charles Vacation Rentals, and Coldwell Banker.
Okay. Come on in.
Thanks, sorry. I'm trying to listen to this.
And tell us your name and who you're with. And there's plenty of seats.
Okay.
Come on.
I'm TC, and I'm with, our business is actually Blue Ridge B&B, but we took over Cape Charles Escapes.
Okay.
Um,
Wherever you'd like to sit. There's inner
I'm
seating.
interested in hearing, as people are talking, like, if you're, like, are you an actual hospitality management company, or you're a real estate company doing business as hospitality management as well? Like, that difference, if that makes sense.
Sure,
As I'm
sure.
listening.
Go ahead. So for those who didn't hear, she'd love, as we're going throughout the morning, just to identify if you were through a real estate company who also offers the STR vacation management services, or if that's really all you're doing is vacation management services. I think that's what she's hoping to identify, everybody's interests or what you're doing at the table. So we have some additional staff here, so we want to make sure you know it's nice to know our faces, but they're really the ones who make all this happen in the office. So I am going to go through, I'm going to start in the very back with Jack first.
Jack Stottmeyer, I'm the zoning compliance officer.
Right next, Adrian Wee, I am the assistant treasurer.
I'm Ryan Silly. I'm part of finance.
No, you're not just part of finance.
I'm the finance.
Can I introduce him? So this is Ryan Sylvie. He is vacation rentals and business license specialist. So he's your primary point of contact, and we're just the band that plays behind the lead singer.
Oh,
There we go.
wow.
Contact for the finance department. That's right. That's right.
Tracy Allen, Planning and Zoning Preservation and Assistant Zoning Administrator.
Connie Drummond, building department, and I think everybody here probably knows who I am.
So again, as I mentioned, plenty of food. Help yourself. Feel free to get up and walk around as we're doing this. Ask questions as we go. And comments. We'll take your comments too. We'll do our best not to be snarky. I just had vacation, so I'm fully recharged, and my snarkiness is back up to 100%, so I'll do my best to refrain from that. With that said, everybody should have gotten a handout from us. It contains the ordinance that was just adopted by the town council on December 19th. We're going to go through that with you. We've also given you all of our forms. And all of the forms have been slightly revamped or potentially are brand new that we're gonna be going over with you today as well. So I'm actually gonna turn the floor over to Marion to go first because her form has not changed substantially.
Right?
So you're up first.
Thanks, Katie. So a lot of times during the presentation, I'll defer to Ryan because he is a specialist. He's been doing this. I've been here since September, and I inherited this great finance department, and now we're utilizing him in ways that make sense. So Ryan is he's going to get it done for us. And hello, can you hear me now?
More for the recording than it is for the people in the room.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. So our forms haven't changed significantly. Last year, what you were doing is going to be done again this year. It has nothing to do with the change in the town ordinance. It's just the way we do it. We do have a new form to gather information in a different way. So Ryan, if you would discuss the forms and which ones we have. The one thing that's going to be a little different is that each business license will be printed on green if it has to do with a short-term vacation rental, and it absolutely must be presented in a conspicuous manner in the home. So that's the one big change that I have to report on, but Ryan will cover those forms with you now. Thanks.
All right, so the basic run-of-the-mill form that you guys are probably most familiar with is the just business license for the short-term rental. I believe they're in the back of the big stapled packet.
The B-poll form.
The B-poll form, yes. These are for the short-term rentals themselves. These are for the individual homes that you need to fill out for 123 Plum Street or whatever the short-term rental address is. That doesn't change. The rates don't change. Everything is pretty much similar from last year, except it's formatted differently. The next one that is in the packet is the transient occupancy tax return form, which I'm hopeful all of you are familiar with. It is the monthly reporting form that you submit to the town, whether payment is remitted through you guys or through Airbnb or through Verbo. This is a monthly form that is needed to be submitted to the town of Cape Charles every month. Again, rates don't change, the information doesn't change, it's just format, really. The third form that is not included in that big packet, but is not applicable to everybody here, is the B-poll for vacation rental management companies. We are, again, information isn't changing, it's just switching over to a different form. Last year, you filled it out on the same form as the short-term rental vacation B-poll, but we're just switching it over to the retail, professional, etc. form. So that, again, nothing's changing, no rates are changing, just where you find it for the rental management companies specifically. And the final thing I would like to touch on is once we process the business license, we will send you this green piece of paper for the short-term rental that needs to be displayed in the residence. We'll send it to you wherever you'd like to receive it, but other than that, that's everything that finance has. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
What's your deadline?
April 15th. April 15th is the due date for all business license, regardless of short-term rental or vacation rental management companies. Other than that,
However, comma, we will not process our rental inspection and schedule the date until the business license has been applied for and paid for. You don't have to have received it from Ryan, but he will check a box and sign off on a form before you come to Connie stating that say 123 Plum Street has been filed and paid for, okay? So it's going to be a process that we're going to run through. You'll see later as we go through this ordinance, it'll be a process of how we're going to do things. in a certain order.
And do you have a deadline?
Before you start renting it. We would like to do calendar year, January 1st to December 31st. That way everybody remembers, hey, brand new year, guess what? I've got to re-up my zoning, I've got to re-up my business license, I've got to re-up my rental inspection. Yes.
So in the example of when a property sells, we're dead smack in the middle of summer. The property sells with a whole bunch of bookings in place. I already have the new owner fill out the paperwork. I submitted to Ryan. He has it, it's paid. Can I still advertise that property and just because of the existing bookings?
So again, this is for recording, I'm just going to reiterate your question. So if the property sells mid-year,
Yeah.
so we're in 2025. I did go on vacation, I warned you guys, my brain is also drained of real information. So in 2025, say it's June, and they have sold the property. Can they still do bookings, and can they still hold true to those rentals? Absolutely. What is required is within 20 days of the sale of the property, they have to come in and file for a new business license and obtain a new safety inspection through the building office as well.
So they still have to do the safety inspection? That's
Yes.
the new thing?
Yes, because part of this is, we don't know if, say, the furniture is remaining exactly the same, or if the new owners are bringing in all new stuff, and maybe they have now blocked an egress route.
Okay, will the rental inspection be able to be done on a Saturday? Because that's usually the case. I mean, I'm just telling you real life. It's usually booked solid, so therefore there's only one window in there. Or would you come in during the guest?
I would have to come in there, yes. I'm not starting to open this up to Saturdays, because then it's going to be an absolute free-for-all. Everybody's going to want a Saturday. I'm not doing that.
So since many of you are associated and affiliated with real estate companies, this is part of the management that you need to be bringing back to all of your agents, is if there is a sale being considered on a piece of property, they're going to have to factor that into this business operation as well. And know that they may have to either schedule the sale in between where they don't have a booking to ensure they can get all the compliance done on time, or there may be some inconvenience to their tenants coming in for when the staff has to get in there from the town to do its job to ensure that we are in compliance with our safety laws. Connie?
Is there a fee associated with the new owner?
There will be a fee associated for every rental inspection required. Yes. Okay?
Has the fee increased?
We didn't do it last year.
So it's 150, I believe is what your fee is. And with that said, because I'm not saying we're getting out of order, but let's now turn it over to Jeb and let him talk about, because again, this is not new of the safety inspection, except it's new because it's going to be extending to the Bay Creek properties for the first time. So Jeb, you're up to talk about what you're doing now. Okay? Safety inspections, and if you want to start touching on this, you can.
Okay, so everybody's pretty familiar with how my process works, other than Bay Creek. So you would file your business license, prove that you paved it, and then you would come to Connie with our application, our rental inspection application. It's $150 per unit. Then you would file with her, and then she would schedule an inspection time. I try to do them in the mornings, 6 to 8 a day, because I still have my regular inspections to do as well. But because we're adding about 150 in Bay Creek, I may try and get a few more done each day. They take roughly 15 to 20 minutes a piece. Looking for fire extinguishers in the kitchen, smoke detectors in all the applicable spots, egress windows in every bedroom. A big thing I see is people blocking egress windows with bunk beds. That can't happen. I'm looking for handrails. I'm looking for all the safety measures, making sure all the electrical's safe, any type of fire hazards. We actually have a list of frequently found violations that we can send out. I don't expect that to be a problem in Bay Creek because they're all fairly new, but we can certainly send that out still. So moving into the new ordinance, which we haven't really gotten there yet, but this new ordinance went into effect December 19th, 2024. You have a year grace period to comply with this ordinance. And FAQ, or disclaimer, this does not apply to Bay Creek. What the ordinance says is 2 people per bedroom plus 2 up to 10. So if I had a 4-bedroom house and it met all of the square footage requirements, I could sleep 10 people legally. Square footage requirements are as follows: 70 square feet for the first person, 50 square feet for each additional. So if
Repeat that again.
70 square feet for the first person, 50 square feet for each additional. So if I had a bedroom that was 220 square feet, I could legally sleep 4 in it. But I can only do that one time. Okay? What the ordinance says is 2 per bedroom, plus 2, up to 10. What if I had a house that has more than 4 bedrooms?
Sorry, when you say 2 per bedroom plus 2, is it 2 per?
Plus 2 one time.
Okay, so it's 2 plus 2 per house, not plus 2 per.
Just says plus 2. Yeah, it's not per bedroom. So what if I had a house that has 5 or 6 bedrooms that could easily accommodate, per the building code, more than 10? The ordinance does allow for that, but you have to provide some additional requirements. I'm going to let Katie address that because that's a zoning thing. Off-street parking, more trash receptacles, et cetera, et cetera. Any questions about that so far? That's going to be a big change. I did 3 rental inspections this morning. 2 of them will not comply with this ordinance as they sit right now. 1 is over the 10, so they're going to have to apply for the additional requirements, comply with the additional requirements, and the other one had bedrooms that were smaller than what they had beds for in the room. Yes?
So that particular home that's over 10, you had mentioned that there'll be additional paperwork. Is that in our packet?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We're going to go through it all.
Yep.
Okay.
So one of the questions I have for you, Jeb, so we know you did 3 inspections and there are some compliance issues right now. Can they still rent as is for 2025?
They can still rent as long as they meet all the other criteria that I've been doing for every year. Yes, they can. We're going to educate, we want to educate everybody that this is coming. The reason that the town gave everybody a year grace is they already knew that everybody had bookings based on what we've been giving them prior years. Okay? So then this is going to get everybody in line, hopefully educate the big ones, the big players here, and then we can get this out to all the homeowners who do their own to know, look, I need to really look at the square footages of my bedrooms. I really need to look at my bed layout and make sure that I'm going to comply with this. So that's the reason they gave a year grace.
So Jeb, could I interject here? From a fee standpoint, while in finance, things aren't changing from a fee standpoint this year, but town council is still in the process of looking at how much more this is going to cost the town to make sure everybody's in compliance. What do we need to be really good managers of these properties? So town council is likely looking at $500 plus in fees once this comes along after the 1-year grace period. But it hasn't been determined yet, and I just wanted to let you all know that. It has not been determined yet, but it'll likely be upwards of $500. Thank you.
As soon as that is determined, it will be thrown out, so you guys can start padding that into your fees or whatever. Yes?
So these occupancy limits do not apply to Bay Creek whatsoever?
So this ordinance does not apply to Bay Creek. Occupancy limits will still be dictated by when I do my inspection, yes.
Okay, so the occupancy limits still.
Right, so if they're over 10, they're not going to have to comply with this as it sits right now.
So just to explain why it doesn't apply to Bay Creek. The safety inspection does because that's a town code. This is zoning. In Bay Creek, for those of you who work in Bay Creek and know this, you have a whole different ordinance that oversees you that is not the town zoning ordinance. You have the Accomack Plantation Planned Unit Development or PUD ordinance that governs Bay Creek. That has not been amended yet to reflect short-term rentals. the town is getting ready to enter those negotiations with Bay Creek, with preserved communities in particular, to start amending the ordinance that may incorporate all of these requirements for STRs. We're just not there yet today, okay? But all the rest of the town, the R1, R2, R3, C1, C2, C3, CR, Harbor.
If you have a short-term rental in the town of Cape Charles, you have to
But if
comply.
you're in Bay Creek, north or south, all you have to worry about is you have to get the safety inspection.
And the business license.
And the business license, that's a given. You had to get that before. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
What other questions? Because I know there's some lingering about this. And I can pass out my business cards. You can email me directly.
So
If there's questions.
We did include your application form for you.
Yes.
As well as in this packet. and
It has
shows-
changed a little, not much.
The fee is shown on there as well, it's $150.
So I want to point out one thing. And Connie, actually, I want you to come address this. Come up. Yes, come on. Come up here and let's talk about the owner's name and owner information and what's going to go on the actual rental certificate.
High five.
Nope.
What's actually going on? It hasn't changed, except for, up top, it says received, which we've always stamped it received, now it's just on here, and you'll see B-poll on there. It's not going to go anywhere until the B-poll form is received, and that's checked off. That other box there is just for our code that we give you. Is that all you wanted?
Well, no, we want to discuss, so everybody, most of the rentals have their own name. You know, Bay Blue
that.
Cottage or Seabreeze Cottage.
Cutesy name.
In the past, the owners have asked if that can go on the rental certificate. That is not what's going on the rental certificate. The owner name, what is legitimately processed when they bought that property, whether it be an LLC or Tom and Jack Harry, is going on that form, okay?
What the county shows, what the town shows as the legal owner is what goes on that certificate.
And what you'll see once we get into this ordinance is there's going to be a lot of requirements for transparency of knowing exactly who owns that property and who they can contact if there is an issue. So we're not going to go with names, unless that's the actual LLC name that owns the property. Whatever the county has as the name is what's going to go on this application and also on the rental certificate.
So if it is an LLC, would you like to have the owner's name as well?
That is absolutely going to be required in the zoning
Okay.
paperwork. Yes, you're going to have to prove who owns that LLC.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Good thing.
There was one more thing we were gonna, this morning. Oh, we're gonna develop a form that gives us permission from the owner for you all to give us a lockbox number, a code to get in the house. We just want something that protects us from getting in trouble for entering the property illegally.
Yeah, we're just trying to cover our bases to make sure we're not being accused of going to somebody's house when we're not supposed to be. So, along with the business license, thank you. Along with the business license certificate, we do require the rental certificate to be posted in the unit. Some people put them on the fridge, some people have a book. It just needs to be conspicuous, not hidden in a closet or in a drawer, in the junk drawer, you know. Hopefully, once we develop all of this new stuff, we're going to have nice software that we can actually turn out a form that will have the business license, the rental certificate, the zoning piece of it all on one form. We're not there yet, but
And if you don't hear from us about that certificate, contact us and ask for it. And a lot of them just sitting in the drawer this year.
For the codes, you're just asking date of when you're gonna enter the home, correct? Like, you're not requiring a code to enter whenever.
oh no.
For
For the purpose of the safety.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, because I mean, I don't know if you've rented it, if somebody's rented it last night and in there today. No, I don't. Most of you all who do a lot of inspections with me know I don't like to put people out. So I don't, if there's anybody in there, I really don't want to do it. I don't like to, I wouldn't want somebody doing that if I'm renting a house in the Outer Banks or Florida or wherever. So I don't like to put people out, so. What else? See, there's a lot, I know there's a lot of questions. I see them.
I've got one.
Yes.
Be really clear with your forms. If you're typing them out, that's beautiful, but a lot of times I'll get 134 Sunset Boulevard, and it doesn't tell me what city you're in. You could be in New York, you could be, it just doesn't finish out. And if you're handwriting it, make sure your handwriting is very legible. Anything that makes us put it aside puts you behind everybody else.
All of our forms are fillable online. It makes it really easy. You can go right on there, fill it out, and then print it out, or you can email it.
I didn't understand the issue about the lockbox.
Oh, that's just for people who aren't at their home or can't get here to let me in to do the inspection. They're giving me permission to use a key code or go into a lockbox to grab a key out. Just, I don't ever want to be accused of stealing somebody's property.
Even those people that unlock remotely are gonna have to sign
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that says, you know, the door will be unlocked on such and such date, such and such time.
We good for now? If you got any questions, just raise your hand.
Okay. So here's all the new stuff coming at you. So yes, you have the whole ordinance. There's a lot in this ordinance. I urge you all to read it. One of the things that we are doing from the town, from my office, not only is it this meeting for all of the vacation rental companies, but we are doing a mass mailing to all of the rental properties. So every individual property, even if they are under your domain and contract with them, they are also going to still receive a letter directly from the town, making them aware that this ordinance is passed, the requirements that are contained in this ordinance, and the expectations from the town, including violations, which is the shoe dropping down the road. So let's kind of walk through what's here. So I will point out, we do have a short-term rental zoning permit application, and I'm actually going to ask you guys to turn to that. It is the last 4 pages. The last 3 of those 4 pages is the short-term rental zoning permit application, and that very last page deals with the occupancy increase application. I'm going to deal with that one last. So one of the terms you're going to hear is a new term for us. It's called booster. Is it booster? Is that the right? Booster, which is going to be the, I should get the exact wording of this, I don't want to get it wrong. Base occupancy short-term rental. That is a new terminology coming in as part of this ordinance, and that is what Jeb will be establishing through his process. So, in this zoning permit application, excuse me one second. Apologize for that. So, what we are looking for, and it's required in the ordinance, is we want to have all this information about every property, that we will be identifying and establishing this basically interior look of what the property is. And we're going to ask for some exterior questions too, and we're going to talk about why and what those are for. So we are looking for a completed application, an existing site plan if one is available, photos of the existing condition of the house, and we do mean the inside of the house at this point. We're looking for your bedrooms and where the egress is of those bedrooms to get out. Photos of parking area, and that becomes relevant if they are looking to have an increase in the occupancy number that's allowed under this ordinance. As I mentioned, photos of the layout for every floor that has bedrooms, and of course the fee. With that, we are looking for the property information. So Jeb has already touched upon this. We need to know the legal deed that this property is under. That's what you're putting here. What's the address? Is it 1234 Plum Street, sorry. If you don't know the tax map number, you can contact our office or go to the county, to the GIS system, and look it up to get your tax map number. So that's where it comes from. Zoning district. Most of those, if you're in the historic district right now, it's R1. If you're on Mason Avenue, it's somewhere in the commercial district. It's either a C1, C2, C3, CR. You can contact my office. We will help you with that. We have maps on the wall in my office. We have the maps up on our website. You can always look there too to see what the zoning is. Same thing in Bay Creek. We have that as part of our zoning map. You can look there as well to figure out what zoning district they are in.
Is the GIS about the zoning?
They do not have the town zoning listed yet. That's a goal we are working on here in 2025 to get to a town-sponsored GIS mapping system as part of this project. I'm not there yet. I'm close.
In a normal GIS program, you should be able to
You're correct, except I don't own the GIS, the county does, so we now have to purchase our own and start getting those layers inputted for ourselves. That's okay. We agree with you, it should be that simple, but I just don't own the data, the county does. So, we are asking you to tell us your view of the number of occupants that the residents can safely accommodate. That does not make it so. This man will make it so. He will be setting the booster, which is again the base occupancy for short-term rentals. It may be the house can accommodate a higher number, but the ordinance will dictate that there is a cap of how many people you can have. And Jeb has already walked you through it, 2 per bedroom, plus the ability to have an increase of 2 per house, not to exceed 10. If you want to exceed 10 and have the capacity to exceed 10, there's paperwork we're going to talk about next to petition the town to see if you can and what has to be achieved to receive that increase. Coming all the way through, so we are looking for applicant information. So again, we do want the owner's name. Who's the person? So there may be an LLC, you can put that, but we're going to want to know the information behind the LLC or the corporation or the limited partnership or any other manipulation of a corporation status that you can think of. You're going to have to eventually tell us all of that information. In Part 5, this is a big one. We actually do want 24/7 contact information. So when there are problems on that property, we want to know who we are calling. Is it you, or have they hired somebody else to be the site manager for, say, trash issues, or if there's a noise complaint, or if some other light feature doesn't happen. We want to know who we're calling if we, the town, have been notified that there's an issue and we need to talk to somebody about that. So put all that down here. Page 2 of our application is we are now trying to gather all the interior information. So we are asking your property owner, your person who owns this space, or if you're doing it on their behalf, to give us all this information about each bedroom. So we've given you 5 bedroom spaces. You only fill out as many as you have bedrooms in that house. If there are more than here, then we'd ask you just to copy this page and attach it again for us and tell us all of this information. We are looking for the size of the bedrooms. We want to know that because that is how we are going to be managing this under our zoning ordinance. It is all dictated by our definition of a bedroom, which is based upon square footage, height, egress, and something else. I can't remember. Anyway, in addition, when Jeb is going out to do his inspections now, he will also be confirming this information. I don't have most of this today, so he is already starting to gather this through his process already. So we are urging you to actually start filling out this paperwork right now. We mentioned that we have a whole year's grace period to actually do the zoning STR permit, this application form, and to get to the zoning permit from my office. We are waiving the fee for the whole first year. For all of 2025, there is no fee incurred for a zoning STR permit. So if you can start filling this out now and allowing us to get into the field and doing this, that would help us tremendously. Otherwise, come next fall, next October, November, December, Jack, Tracy, and I are really not going to like our lives at all because we're going to have roughly 350 of these to process all at the same time. So if we can start working some of these through the system right now, that would be so appreciated. That's all I can tell you and beg of you to get it in. There is no fee to do it early. That's all I'm letting you know. This entire year, there's no fee being imposed. You've heard from Marion, the town council is still reviewing the costs involved for this whole new ordinance coming in. We are eventually going to be acquiring software specific to STR management and being able to move many of these processes so you can do online applications, online issuance of permits. We're going to try and really improve your life as well as ours, even to the point of improving the payment of the transient occupancy tax on a monthly basis. But we weren't able to acquire the software yet because the ordinance parameters were still a moving target all the way until December 19th. And so we are now moving forward to go out and procuring software for this very purpose. And so with that, we now have some costs associated with that, and council is still looking that up and determining what will be the new zoning STR permit fee moving forward. As I said, once that is established, which we think will happen sometime in the month of January, the council will adopt, January or early February, the council will adopt that new fee structure. We will be giving a year's grace period, or all of 2025, that fee will not be imposed. The first time I think it will be imposed will be with that 2026 application. So if you can get it in, you're not going to pay anything more. We are going to ask you for a lot of information, though. I'm not going to lie. You can see it all. It's quite a bit. But once you do it once, and we confirm it with Jeb, then we have it. It's in the system. It'll be imported into any new software we obtain. So it'll just be confirming on an annual basis at that point that information moving forward. Okay?
Is that even if it changes ownership?
Even if it changes ownership,
Still got that information on the house?
we still will have it, so they just need to apply again. And we have not done a sort of change of ownership application yet. We just got this one finished. I think Jack signed off on this for me the 20th of December. So we've been working really hard the last few weeks trying to get all this paperwork in line with whatever town council was going to be voting on. So we still have probably one or two more forms that are coming out. That would probably be one, is just a simpler application process, as if the ownership changed mid-year. What does that information look like for us at that point? Okay? Jeb?
Will this have to be submitted every year?
Yes, on an annual basis. However, this is one thing I've been working on, because I have been interviewing all of the software companies. One of the things that would change is, what would a renewal application look like? So yes, you would have to renew every year, but much of this information could self-populate once I have it the first time. And that is what I've been working on with our software companies, to ensure that we can develop on that promise to you. Okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, you have two lines for each bedroom. One says total doors, the other one says door two.
Because we recognize some bedrooms may have two different doors going in and out. And so we wanted to give you the ability to fill in the information as best as we could envision what the layout of a bedroom would look like. So you only fill out what is really there for each bedroom. And when it's not relevant, you just put in NA, that means not applicable. Yes?
As far as location, what do you, for the bedroom, I'm assuming first floor, second floor? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, we are looking for that. So we only want this information for every floor that has a bedroom. So yes, we want to know that information. Is this on the first floor, second floor? And then with that said, when we say location, like for total windows, across from there, we are trying to figure out which wall is this window on that you're describing. Is this the north, south,
Okay, that's the one.
east, west wall? Yes.
On the actual side of every single window in every room.
Yes. And again, we recognize it's going to be hard information to gather. This is part of what Jeb is doing through his safety inspections. He is starting to gain information right now about size of bedrooms. So it's his first few inspections you've done already, you've gained that information. So he's not doing necessarily the size of the windows at this point, but we're going to need this information. If I don't have it filled out, this is going to require coordination of my office with either you or the property owner to go and get this information. Yes?
I don't know if anybody here is using Breezeway for their, is anybody using Breezeway?
Yes.
You are? Okay. So Breezeway is awesome because it has, you can go in and you can say this room, and you can have pictures uploaded, you can have your measurements in there, you can have your air filter sizes. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can put into Breezeway where, when you're dealing with a specific property or a specific room, you can find it without having to go on site to see, where is that smoke detector located, or, the valve's fouled down, I need to buy a new one. The measurements are already in, like, whatever you put in, it's a lot of back end work, but once it's in there, you're.
So if you're using them, you've probably done a lot of this already.
We haven't used it out here yet.
Okay.
We use it for our management, like just housekeeping and that kind of stuff. But it is, you can like update every single protocol, every single, and make it as in-depth. And all the tasks that go out for everybody.
Yeah.
I take it it's a fee for that service through Breezeway?
There is, I can't remember, if it's per property or.
It's like a base. If you have 50 properties, properties, it's something per month, but if it's over 50 properties.
And also
Got it.
what you have to offer too.
Right.
Like what level you're using. Like you can have like a base, like she said, as far as like what you're doing with it, and then you can go really in depth with it.
Yeah, if you choose it to do a bunch of accounting stuff, then, you know, but we
It's pretty robust.
Okay. So a big part of, when you look at Part 6 of this application, is we have actually crafted the application to let you know all the requirements of our zoning definition of a bedroom. So every single one of these, number 1 through 5, are all components of the zoning definition of a bedroom. So part of this, and I'm telling you as the managers, and what the property owners will be asking us over this next 3 to 4 months as they get more informed of this, is what happens if they can't comply with all of this? Well, this is what we're going to be facing and having to have some hard conversations with property owners. What you may have been using as a bedroom will no longer qualify as a bedroom for an STR. It may qualify as a bedroom potentially under the building code, but under the STR building definition, it will not qualify as an STR bedroom. So we're going to allow them to continue using it for 2025, but that may change for 2026. They may not have those same numbers of bedrooms that they were advertising before. So I want everybody to be familiar with that and aware of that. So as we keep going through, so we've asked for all the information about every bedroom and information on that. We do ask, does the bedroom have access to a bathroom without crossing another bedroom? Meaning I shouldn't have to go through bedroom 1, go through bedroom 2 to get to the bathroom. I should be able to go from bedroom 1 to a bathroom. It may require going to a hallway to do that, but as long as I'm not going from an interior bedroom to another bedroom, then to a bathroom. So that may impact some of the homes, the way they have been designed and set up. Does every bedroom have access to natural ventilation and a permanent heat source? Does every bedroom have the 2 required means of egress? And I'm not going to try and answer what egress means. We did give you a sample from our ordinance, which says leading to the rest of the home without going through another bedroom and leading directly to the outside. Do you want to explain what that means in layman's terms, or is that clear to everybody?
Can I come back real quickly?
Yes.
To the doors.
Yes.
I assume, there's obviously closets that have doors. Is that what you want us to say, is closet door, hallway door, what kind of door?
Really, if you would care to tell us about the closet doors, that's fine. We are looking for the egress pass.
Just egress?
Yes, that's what we're looking for.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, I'm glad. And it could be everything from, there may be a door that leads out to a deck, or it could be the door that leads to the hallway.
And that's what you want us to say, hallway, balcony?
Right.
Yes.
Because there could be instances where there's a room that doesn't have a window that needs egress, but it does have a door that leads to a deck. That's the same thing. So that's your egress there as opposed to your window. So we just wanted to make sure that there is egress that window.
And just, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Just to confirm, so if there is a bedroom that passes through another bedroom to get to a bathroom, that will no longer be allowed to be utilized as a bedroom?
In 2026. We will allow it for 25, but we also are putting everybody on notice and letting them know that will not be allowed moving forward after this year, after this rental season. We also gave you, further down, we gave the definition of the window and what its height needs to be on the first floor versus a second floor window. So we are looking for that window size and the height from the room floor. We may be redundant in some of our information here. We will figure that out. We may make further tweaks of this application as we start to have it put in motion. So I don't want anybody to think, if you tell us, Katie, this form is ridiculous, if you would tweak it this way, we'll listen to that input. We did this based upon the ordinance that just got passed. We recognize we're going to need some in-field work to help us improve our operations. So we will take your feedback and incorporate it into future versions of this form. So again, we're also looking for ceiling height as well. So that gets us to the basic information we're looking for to comply with this ordinance. As I mentioned, the other things that we are trying to obtain information on is really what is the site conditions? What is the parking capacity of that property? Right now, there is no parking obligations or requirements built into the zoning ordinance. However, town council has made it abundantly clear there's a parking issue that they want resolved, and that is, I think, going to become one, if not within the top 5 priorities of the staff of this coming year of things we're going to be working on to study and advance a parking solution in the historic district in particular. So we're trying to do a little preemptive analysis and information gathering at this point in time. So we have included a section here. So we are asking, is the property available to provide any parking on the lot itself? Is there a driveway already? Is there a curb cut for a driveway that has never been installed? Is there alley access? Can you park off the alley onto the backyard of the property? That is basic information that we're trying to gain access to. So we are asking that from the property owner first before we actually go out and do site visits and start doing measurements and putting together a whole database on this information. So we do have also a change in the town code dealing with refuse requirements. I'm not going to say I am highly skilled in this. I'm going back to our specialist, which is Ryan, who's going to talk about refuse.
You need to update that because didn't we put in another requirement for over 5 years to go to 3?
Oh, we did, thank you.
Yeah, so
Okay.
make sure.
We update that,
Yeah.
okay. Go for it. So, and 1 and 2 bedroom, they're going to be required as an STR, they're going to be required to have it. He's right, they amended this on the floor Thursday evening. If it's over 5 bedrooms,
5 or more bedrooms, 2 trash cans.
3 or more, 2 trash.
3 or more. Oh, okay.
yes.
That was amended on the floor, it's never changed.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to update that, so we do have a mistake in this form, I'm gonna tell you that right now, the refuse requirements, because it got changed on the floor at the night of the council meeting, and we did not update this form, and I apologize for that, so we will get that updated and put on our website here in the next day or so. But go ahead and talk about the refuse requirements for SDRs.
Okay. So if the residence has 1 or 2 bedrooms, it will require 1 trash can no matter what. If there are 3 or more bedrooms, it will require 2 trash cans no matter what. If there are 5 or more bedrooms at the house, it will require 3 trash cans no matter what. I don't know if everybody is aware, but we recently switched to quarterly billing for the trash. The rates won't change, but the frequency of the billing will. Yes.
Have you considered having trash pickup on Saturdays?
That trash pickup is provided by Davis Disposal. No.
As far as the town, where I don't want a guest to come in with other people's trash.
Mhm.
So all,
And we currently utilize that. Yes. We contracted.
Days.
I asked the town a couple of years ago to consider a Saturday pickup, and it went nowhere. And I contacted Davis myself, and they said, sure, and it's quite inexpensive.
inexpensive. And we get them to come and.
Just for the PC.
So the town for its refuse collection, it actually goes out to bid. I can't say it's an annual bid. I think it's done with a 3-year contract, but it goes out to bid, and that is something that's part of that bid process. I know we looked at this last year, and we were told last year it was not possible for Davis to switch us to a Saturday for the entire town, based upon their other commitments they already had under contract at that point in time.
It was for a twice a week pickup. The understanding in the summertime, people produce a lot.
I understand. Unfortunately, the town council did not include that within their budget to move to a twice-a-year pickup during the seasonal summer hours. So again, I think it would be an issue raised with the council at their council meetings as they go through budget deliberations for the FY26 process. I think the treasurer has now heard that comment. I think she will include it in her considerations as she's developing the next budget process with the town manager. But as of now, no, we are not considering a Saturday pickup for trash.
So if I have that in place, are my properties still required? My 3-bedroom property that will have, of course, their Tuesday pickup, And where I don't want my guests to come in with other people's trash, I have it picked up on Saturday. I don't need an excessive amount of trash bins because I'm making sure that they're not gonna get filled.
Sure. And again, I'm not considering this an excessive amount of trash cans. So if you have up to three, one or two bedrooms, we're saying you've got to have one trash can. If you have 3 bedrooms, 3 or 4 bedrooms, you got to have 2 trash cans. If you have 5 bedrooms, you got to have 3 trash cans. I don't consider any of that an excessive amount of trash cans based upon the capacity of trash that can be generated as you increase the number of people coming in to stay and enjoy.
Ours has 2 anyway.
So this is a new concept in the ordinance. It was not part of the zoning ordinance per se, because the refuse requirements are contained in the town code, which is, again, applicable to all of Bay Creek, all of the historic district, all of the town of Cape Charles. Of the town code, that's where it's applicable for. So the refuse requirement hits all properties doing STRs, just so everybody's aware of that.
Do you think town council will consider adding an additional pickup in the new bid?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, and I think a part of this is getting data information to them to figure out the impact of increasing putting this as a requirement now, because today you are even not required to have a trash can. If you as a property owner or the management company wanted to contract with somebody to come pick up your trash and bring it over to Bayview, you could do that and not have to get a bill on a monthly basis from the town for trash. Now quarterly. But if you're going to do an STR, you are now required to do so. Okay? Is there a chance if you only rent for the summer but not for the fall or winter seasons, can you get relief from this for a period of time?
Yes. If there is there's a 9-month period where you need to have a trash can, basically. If you can turn on and off the trash can service, but if you turn it on and off within a 9-month period, you will be retroactively billed for the previous months that you didn't have a trash can, if that all makes sense. Can they turn it off entirely for the 3 months?
Yes.
Okay.
So they could call, say, in October and say, I want to turn it off for the winter season, for the December, January, February, whatever your quarterly basis is. They can do that.
Okay. Yeah, and
And that means we come and take the trash cans and you don't get billed for anything. And then when you are back to operating your property again as an SDR, you would restore those. You would have to call your office and have those restored.
Yeah.
You can also reduce the number, so if you're required to have 3 and the owner still wants to come but only needs 1, you can ask for those other 2 to get taken away, not be charged for while they're not renting.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
I mean, but if we're just not using that many, you still have to have 3.
I
We get our trash taken out after every single guest leaves. So we never have to.
So
worry about trash cans.
so the council never even considered anything like that because as somebody who's dealt with rentals for about 10 years, I didn't even know that you all did that.
Yes.
We know trash is a major problem, and I'm not saying it's any of your companies that are running it, but that is one of the big hot button issues. The reason council even addressed doing an ordinance was trash. So I will say that they had no knowledge of companies actually doing that. So it's in the town code as it sits. But what we can do is go back to the manager and talk to him about it and see if it's something he wants to bring back up to council. We cannot make that decision. There's no exceptions in there because we didn't know this information.
Yeah.
But now we do.
But now we do, so I'm not saying that might not be a possibility, but we cannot, none of us can make that decision.
But see, this is, I mean, for me, what part of this problem has been this whole STR ordinance and all the talking about it came about using lay people. Not a single professional property manager was contacted to be a part of any of those discussions. I contacted the town manager early on when I found out that, you know, all of this was being done a couple of years ago, and there was no interest in having me be a part of the discussion, and that's I mean, this is a prime example, it's something that really isn't a problem, it's something that we already, you know, take care of. I mean, and I found out that the extra cost of having Saturday trash pickup was what?
Literally just like $10 a trash bin.
Right? I mean, it just seems.
So inexpensive, and they'll do it for the 3 months. It's a monthly thing, $10 for a month. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and yet when I contacted the town about, you know, a Saturday pickup, it would just be cost prohibitive and it wouldn't be fair to the citizens of the town. And that's when I went and called Davis, and when I found out how ridiculously inexpensive it was to solve what I knew was a tremendous problem.
I think ultimately, the easiest way town council, or, you know, just the town in general, could have dealt with, if you think about it, there's two different types. You have a property management company, and then you have an individual that lives off-site, and basically their housekeeper takes care of everything. So having the professionalism of a company, all of your STRs would be uber managed. I mean, I'm not saying an individual doesn't take care of their property, but having a professional management company would have probably, you know, helped with a lot of the STR issues.
And that may be the case, but the town cannot mandate that from anybody. We cannot compel somebody to engage a management company. If they wish to operate their property solely on their own, they have every right to do so. So that's, you're right, it's not a component of this ordinance. And I recognize, Kim, your comments, and they're well received today. I think, again, you've got the treasurer sitting here who will be part of the budget development, and she's heard those comments, and I think she'll be gaining that information. And consider that as part of the FY26 budget development is how we're doing trash collection and the costs associated with said trash collection. I can't change where we are today. My goal today is just to get the information out, what is the law today, and what we're dealing with in 2025. Doesn't mean it can't change, it can't be reconsidered as we get more information and we learn how the operations are going. Doesn't mean it can't be amended down the road, but this is where we are today. Okay? So let's, go ahead.
Do you all do extra trash pickup? We do.
Yes.
Do you all do it too? Okay, just so we know.
Yeah, from the management
The
companies.
Big Four do it.
Right.
Every guest leave. It doesn't matter if it's a Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every guest leave, we do.
So my question,
Nobody wants to come to a house that has
other
full,
people.
yeah, and it's full.
so of your properties, are you typically doing a Saturday to Saturday turnover or Sunday to Sunday?
Any Saturday.
You do both?
All of it, yeah.
Do you guys change, like, high season Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday, but then in off season, you change it?
Okay.
And so that's how you get do you call them and say these 3 properties are turning over on Tuesday and they'll come pick it up, or how?
Yeah.
Okay.
We coordinate that.
So Davis,
May I
can you
ask a
also-
question?
We don't
of
need
you?
it.
Yeah.
You get somebody else.
Let me ask a question of y'all. Do you all have regular meetings of this consortium? Because if you do, then we would like to be part of that. We don't want to organize a meeting of you all, but. if
Except we
could-
did today.
Okay, so
I
it was
mean,
not
I've
one.
been trying to do that as far as like talking to the county and when the town gets together, just trying to implement something like that, because I feel the last time when all this started coming about last year, at the end of it, when we all sat here for like 3 hours that one night, I forget the date, but by the end of it, the consensus was the lack of proper like management is the big issue, because there's so many things that we're already doing as companies that's
Yes.
redundant, and now like,
Yes.
you know, like for the zoning, you know, all that information, like we already perform a safety inspection on every single house before we sign them on. That's a 3-hour process. So a lot of that stuff is, we're gonna have to do it again. So it's, we would love to, I mean, I know we would love to do that, you know,
And we'd love to attend and participate and be of assistance if you all organize a group such as this, the next quarterly or whatever, just committing that, sorry, Ryan.
What's the meeting for you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, thank you.
So that gets you through all the requirements of the basic zoning STR permit. Again, this is brand new under this ordinance. We are giving forgiveness of this process through 2025. You are not forgiven from doing the safety inspections required under the building official, nor the business license or transient occupancy tax. Those are requirements that were in place well before and still are required today. This is the area where we're giving you leeway. Again, we urge you, if you can start getting this filled out for each of your properties and getting it into my office, we can start processing it. There is no fee this year. I'm going to keep saying that until everybody really hears that.
Do we get a credit if we do all the work for our first? I'm just kidding.
No fee.
I know.
The credit is coming from the sheer fact, the town council, what we are requesting of them is a substantial upgrade of our IT capabilities here. And they are willing to front that up front. So that's why we're going to waive the first year, and the town is willing to take on that onus right now, so we get up and running for you. I hope we are up and running sometime around May, and so that we can start then doing training sessions out with you and each individual property owner. It will make your life so much easier. I have been demoing softwares. Ryan was part of that process, demoing the software. Oh, we can't wait. I'm not kidding you. We cannot wait.
I'm excited about it too, because
Yes.
it's less paper.
Yes.
You know?
And it will absolutely remove you having to come into our office for a lot of things. You can do it at night, on the weekend, and fill out this paperwork, and there'll be a flow process of how it works through the system, notifying us when an application gets filed. All sorts of stuff will happen when we get to some software. It's a substantial investment for this community. We think it is so needed. And we are committed from a staff perspective, working with council to get it properly funded and put in place this year. Kim?
So I was thinking, you know, with the different management software that each of us uses, I mean, that'll probably be important to understand which systems we use and get an idea of which ones actually interface better with the systems that you all are looking at. And that's
Sure.
Because we can make user profiles, we could technically make a user profile for you when you come in and you see all of our room measurements.
Right. So some of the software that is out there for the management companies of your nature do not actually equate or have compatible software for where we are for tax collections and some of the elements that we are trying to achieve on us, because we have a threefold requirement that we're trying to do. Handle the safety inspections pieces and running all that information through. For me, all of the zoning information that we have, which will tag into some of your information already, but it's also dealing with a huge chunk of the tax piece of the puzzle here, both for the B-poll itself and for the remittance of the TOT, and how that interfaces with VRBO, Airbnb, and you guys have a third one, I can't think of who it is, who remits on behalf of your property owners as well. So,
Which is still a bugaboo.
right, and that's something that some of the software companies that we're looking at will address for us.
I mean, that's the problem.
Yes.
With management companies, we have very specific ways that we're able to calculate what we owe. And I know that the problem is the individual owners don't, because it's gone through the RBL and Airbnb, and they don't give you an accounting of who it's for, so you don't even have a clue, you know, where it's
And
coming
when we
from.
get a check, we're not gonna return it to Verbo,
Yeah.
just because they haven't told us where to apply it. We're not gonna do that.
So we're well aware of that issue. The companies that we have been interviewing are aware of this issue. Some of them are actually solving them here in Virginia at this point in time, because they're aware of what the Virginia law states, that Airbnb and Verbo and other larger platforms are supposed to be remitting the TOT. They are supposed to be providing the detailed analysis. They just have chosen not to. And right now, their lobbying up in Richmond is pretty strong, and so far that has not held with a great deal of compliance or violation issues of how we hold them to task for doing that. So we are getting some money from them. I'm not going to deny that. The town is receiving payments. Marion is absolutely correct. We're not exactly sure how to allocate those payments that we get on a monthly basis to which, I don't know, 30, 60, 90 properties in town that are covered under that payment. Yes.
So it's good to know that there's stuff legally that's happening, because it is a pain in the butt even on the property owner's side to know and to reconcile those transactions. But the city of Charlottesville requires every month for us to actually submit all of our transactions per property, so they can at least, that's how they know how many illegal ones are operating, is because those of us that are in compliance, we're submitting monthly you know, per property, this is what this property brought in, and that shows them on this check, oh, well, that means that this many million is still unaccounted for. That's how much.
Correct.
It's exactly this kind of conversation that we would love to be a party to. Just perfect example.
It is a pain in the butt to sit and submit every time for every single property, what that property brought in.
And that's part of when we, and I'm not kidding you, when we've been looking at the software, and I can't wait for us to finally roll it out, we still have to go through procurement ourselves. We are required to do certain governmental acquisitions of new technology, so we are going out to bid on this right now. I'm finalizing the scope of work for that RFP. When that comes into place, you will be able to set up accounts for each individual property. You as the property manager, if you have 20 accounts under you, you'll be able to handle all 20 accounts under your account administration. So those are the things that we're looking at to try and make your life a little bit easier, so that, again, you put the information once and then you just have to start updating on a monthly basis, or in this case, quarterly basis, because that's what TOT is going to, is quarterly, to make it a little easier as well. I believe it's going to quarterly, the TOT. Is that not switched yet?
As of now?
Hasn't switched yet. That's our plan, is over this coming year, we're going to move the TOT. We're going to request from council to see if that can be remitted on a quarterly basis as well.
So I just want to differentiate myself from everybody else, besides not being actually local, is that we're hospitality management and not property management. So y'all that are property managers, you're handling other people's money, we're not handling anyone else's money. We just bill for services. We do our Venn diagram is so almost identical, we just don't handle people's money. Get our homeowners to submit that paperwork.
Sure.
It's pulling teeth.
So that's, and I'm going to just jump back a little bit. That is part of what Ryan has given you, is the TOT information in their paperwork. They are also going to be seeking, is that detailed information on each of your property. They're going to want to know how many nights did you rent out of that month, and what was the fee associated with each night of that rental. And they will be asking, okay, if that was through VRBO or Airbnb, we're going to ask for that paperwork as well to support the documentation you're supplying into the town at this point in time.
It made me think, so the TOT that's due on or before the 20th with a small discount. So during this year of the grace period, if we could get everybody really compliant with those deadlines, because somewhere in the future, being out of compliance with the STR permitting could cost you something. So let's use this year to get on time or early, just like we're gathering more information. But I just wanted to say that because we don't want to see anybody suffer consequences that are needless, right? Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back to, I'll just let y'all know, I did one of the rental inspections this morning, and this property sleeps over 10. So I know this is until next year. I'm fine this year, it's approved, but I know I have to make some changes for 2026.
You leave me right in.
Here we go. You're up to my last page of the packet.
I thought okay, good.
Nope.
I didn't pay her to say that.
So
You got my signal, Christy, but anyway. So the very last page is this one-page application. So first off, you have to have gotten the basic permit. You have to go through getting your safety inspection, getting your business license, and if you are going to be seeking an increase in the booster, you are going to have to have filled out the original STR zoning permit. All that 3 pages we just went through, we are going to make you fill that out for us first, because that has to establish the booster. Then you can submit this requesting an increase in the occupancy. It is a one-pager because, again, we have all the basic property information for that property. Now you're going to tell us, what are you looking to increase to? So we're going to need to know under Part 5, I've given you 1 through 4, you've seen that before. Part 5 is asking, what is the existing booster, the base occupancy short-term rental? What is that number that we have established through JEB and our application and confirmed? And what are they looking to increase it? So if you were confirmed at 4 bedrooms to sleep a total of 8 people plus the 2, so to sleep 10, and you now want to go to what? Is it 5 bedrooms, or is it how many people? That's what we need to know. We do need to know bedrooms. The bedrooms do drive everything here. It's not necessarily the number of people, it's depending on if the bedroom can accommodate one person or two people. That's what matters,
Does it
okay?
matter what the age is, Katie, of those people?
Okay, let's talk about that. So before I jump to that for a second, the other things that we're going to look for is, for an increase, part of that consideration is, can there be parking considerations on that property? So we are looking to see, is that property really sized to handle the number of cars that could be coming with that size of a rental? Or will it clog or cause a bigger neighborhood concern because all those cars will be dumped onto the streets versus any of them coming onto the property? So that is part of the information we are trying to gather and help us ascertain what we're doing here. Go ahead.
So let's say I'm in a situation where it sleeps over 10. It's an interior property. I don't have a parking spot in the back. It's not on an alley. I'm like in a really bad situation where I'm a property manager, and I know, some people don't listen, but if I come to you and say, okay, I realize that I, only have like 3 or 4 parking spaces here, if I make my guests sign a rental agreement that says that they can only bring 4, vehicles, would that help me pass this?
As it stands today, we have nothing in here that would restrict us from saying we can't give you the increase in the occupancy allowance for an STR just because you can't handle the additional parking needs on that property.
Okay.
We are asking for at least a review of what is occurring on your property. If there is an ability, we want to try and maximize that, okay?
What would constitute you all, because you've taken all this information and based on that, it doesn't qualify for more, what would get you that? Like, what are you looking for to increase it?
Okay, so Jeb, as he mentioned, he did an inspection this morning already. You want to talk about that particular property? That could legally have more bedrooms than what the STR ordinance allows.
Yeah, so it had 4 bedrooms and essentially a 5th bedroom in the attic. I calculated it based on the new ordinance that it could sleep 11.
Can I have you stand up to the microphone just so
No.
you catch all this? Sorry.
Okay, so I had it calculated based on the ordinance that it could sleep 11. So being that it was over 10, I then looked and it was on an alley. So they could provide off-street parking. Our ordinance requires 1 off-street parking spot per 2 additional guests
After 10.
after 10. Yes.
However, in the ordinance, it indicates that if you cannot do that, that may not be a reason for disqualification for your requested increase.
Well, what is the parking requirements up to 10?
There are none.
There are none.
There are none.
So it's just in addition to.
Correct. Are you sure? Are you sure that that's not if? I'm pretty sure they've got to provide it over 10.
They're not required to.
No, I thought that was under 10. You sure? Okay. All right.
We have to work to attempt to achieve that goal.
That was.
Which that contract that Chrissy was referencing appears to do to me, am I right? Is it working towards that goal?
Say that again?
Would you restate what the contract says about parking in cars?
So ultimately, I was just saying that if we were enforcing the parking situation and I could be declined to have it as a vacation rental, if I, regulated the guests and bringing the number of vehicles, would I then, consider?
That's what I thought I heard. I don't know the answer to that. I don't.
It sounds to me that they aren't pressing the parking right now, but they're working on it.
No, it's,
Yeah.
Can accommodate sufficient off-street.
But not have to.
yeah.
I think you need to talk to John. I'm pretty sure they wanted off-street parking.
age
if they
wasn't
can't accommodate,
a
if they
factor,
cannot.
but
Then they
the
can't get over 10.
ordinance says for the purpose of the
How could they accommodate it?
booster, an occupant shall not include any persons
I think they
2 years
do.
of
Well,
age or under.
Yeah.
What's,
That-
paragraph?
That's big.
Sorry, Tracy, you gotta come to the mic to catch this, sorry. Say it again, because yes, we haven't come back to the age issue.
Yes, I do believe that Marion answered or asked the question about if any age, and I believe Katie said yes, but if, in the ordinance, on page 4, that's the easiest way to tell you. It does say, if you read the first paragraph in number 5, the last sentence says,
Under C, additional requirements, go down midway to the page, number 5.
number 5, it does say, for the purpose of the booster, an occupant shall not include any persons 2 years of age or under.
And so, Tracy, my thought about this, and I know, I suspect council, batting around, appropriate age on this, but I really think it should be 12 years.
Again, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Kim, this is the law. If you have differences of opinion of what you think should be in this ordinance, I would ask you to bring those comments to the town council.
No, I will,
Yeah.
but because we are all here right now, it's almost as if we are solving problems that don't exist. Children do not drive cars, so if the issue has to do with overloading a house and parking,
No.
we keep hearing.
No, no. This issue deals with the safety of the number of people sleeping in a home and to ensure that we have appropriate beds and access out of those bedrooms to safety if there should be an incident in a home. That's what that really is driving. We recognize there's been other conversations thrown in of people saying, well, we don't want that increased numbers of cars coming or adding additional traffic, blah, blah, blah. For our consideration, from Jeb's consideration, the occupancy is all dealing with the fact of we need to make sure that everybody has a safe place to sleep and exit if there's a fire. I'm just going to put it right out there. If there's a fire, you have people who are not familiar with the home to begin with, and we don't want them trying to figure out, oh my goodness, we have 6 kids stashed upstairs in that giant loft space that's up there. Maybe they don't have a safe way to get out, or maybe the parents themselves are not able to go help them evacuate the home. That's our concern from a staff perspective and what we have provided to council when they reach their decisions on these things. So I recognize some people try to tie that of the age of children to vehicles and whether they can drive or not. No, this is solely relative to the safety when we set bedrooms and where kids are sleeping and where adults are sleeping. I don't mean to step on your area, but.
So the building code does not dictate age at all, period. The number is the number. There was a couple council who felt very strongly about trying to get an age in there, and that's the compromise we came up with. 2-year-old children, 90% of the time, are going to be in a crib or a pack and play right beside their parents. So we felt that, we all, but it ultimately was looked at me. I felt comfortable enough to not have to include that number in the occupancy that we give a house.
And I appreciate that explanation because I had always heard it connected with the parking,
Well, and that's been a
in the house because of the parking, and it's like, well, wait a second, people under the age of driving.
And that's one of those big misnomers that gossip, we all call it gossip here, right? That is out there that really isn't factual. Parking is a concern, but safety is the number one concern. Hands down. Fire. We do not want that PR. Okay? We don't want it.
So,
Hold on, he's good.
oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Jan. When you examine the parking allocation, our laws are the standard Whistler law, it's 40 feet. In 40 feet, even if you don't have a cut in your curb, you can fit 2 cars. Where are the other cars that would fit a house that has, a large number of occupants?
Sure. So our zoning ordinance states in the R1 district, which is most of the historic district, and that's what I'm going to focus on, This was a town design for on-street parking. It was not intended for parking really to be accommodated on the lot itself. It was always intended to be a town with horse and carriage, because that's what was here when this town was first founded. Cars came later, still the same concept. And in our zoning ordinance, we still have that consideration. If you build on a vacant lot today in the R1 district, you are not required to deal with parking on your property itself. You are allowed to park on the street. There is no requirement for any parking consideration when you fill a vacant residential lot today, just so you know that. The STR issue is what has driven this forward, saying they may be using the property in a more intensive way than a normal residential use of the house would be. You may or may not agree with that statement, but I think that is what some of the concerns have been expressed by, is potentially people coming in to use a house may not be of just one single family. They may be multiple families coming in, coming from different directions, traveling in various vehicles to get here. We recognize that that is occurring on our town streets. Some streets have more STRs than others. We have not chosen to implement any sort of density restriction. We have not done a neighborhood by neighborhood analysis of those parking requirements or demands on those streets at this point in time. I think that is coming in this next year. That is what the council is seeking from its staff, to work on solving the parking issue in this community. I don't know what a solution would be yet. I don't. I'm not going to even try and speculate on what it could be. But at this point in time, part of what I think we're trying to do is gather certain information. If the lot has the capacity, can we try and address some of that through that capacity? Go ahead.
So on playing on that, golf carts are a big part of Cape Charles. Okay, you know probably what I'm about to ask.
Go for it.
So for, let's say, the homes in town, and we have cars, I mean, golf carts take up a lot of the parking spaces for cars, which is a big issue. Is there eventually going to be a discussion of maybe designated golf cart parking?
I think when we get into a full analysis of a parking consideration for the entire historic area, and I'm really going to resolve it just to that, there probably will be a consideration of how we're dealing with parking of golf carts on our streets, public streets, definitely in the commercial area and in the residential areas. I think some of the bigger challenges we have sometimes is you do have many of these golf carts. Where do they get charged into? And where we're parking them on the property themselves? Because right now they are blocking some sidewalks, or they're happening in the front yard. Those are some issues we're going to have to address as well moving forward. I don't have the answers yet, but I think they will be considered as we continue to look at this issue. Yes?
Just a contribution to this conversation for whoever takes stuff back to the city council or whoever. Sorry, everything goes back to City of Charlottesville. City of Charlottesville has a nominal fee for a parking sticker that goes in your window for full-time residents. You can purchase an additional 2 maximum rearview mirror hanging things that are visible and bright. And if you lose it, you don't get a replacement until the following year. So our guests have a high penalty for it. They have to mail it back in. We've had it mailed probably 6 times in the last 4 years. So anyway, it's all in our instructions. People are very motivated to keep track of it. And then in the county, around the city, any guest parking has to actually be off of the road. If you don't have a driveway, you actually cannot have an Airbnb. And I know that's not the situation here, and it's a bit restrictive. We don't like it out. My suggestion is that, or just confusion for the idea is that residents who live here get their stickers and automatically, but for the people who live here, a guest tag that's a different color than the guest tag for STRs, and that STRs has whatever the amount of cars that are designated for that particular property. Like if you've only got one, I'm just making this up because everything's in a grid here. We have a lot of properties in Charlottesville because of cul-de-sacs that have one parking space even though you've got a big lot. So however many parking spots that property can have,
Well, here is,
That's just,
and again, I appreciate the input because we have looked at, Charlottesville has been one of those communities we looked at, in Albemarle County, and we have studied this issue ad nauseum. Let me tell you this. The difference between us and Charlottesville, we don't own our streets. VDOT owns our streets in this town.
so you can't issue parking?
No. We would have to go through VDOT to get them to agree to those rules. We do not own our streets. So we have a challenge. I'm not saying it's an easy challenge here. Yes. So we appreciate how it's being handled in other communities. It doesn't mean it's not the basis of how we might look at things and then have to petition different agencies that actually administer the streets.
Would they have, would the city then, I'm sorry, would the city then have to pay VDOT?
I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But,
Oh my God, I could-
and I love that you're calling me a city, but we're not a city. We're a town.
Cities own your roads,
I
towns don't.
haven't quite understood Virginia's like
Yeah.
lands,
We're under the 5,000 population threshold that we could be petitioned to go to a city. We're not there. I don't know if we'll ever get there. So we're a town. The town is incorporated and we have our own form of government. The county, which we are part of the county, handles certain services for the town. Schools are the responsibility of the county. The judicial system, county. Social services, county. Jails, county. Building inspections, zoning ordinance, some taxation collections at the town level that we can do are all under our responsibility. So we do have what people consider double taxation. Well, because we do tax to support the services that we provide as a town, and the county does tax to provide the services that they are providing on behalf of this town for all of our residents, like the school system. We do not operate schools. So, Kim.
And I know I'm preaching to the choir a little bit on this, but the whole issue that short-term rental is creating more cars and the parking problem in town. I think there's a huge misnomer with that, because if you take any given house in town and imagine a full-time person living there with teenagers, with cars, so you have, a mother and a father, each with their own car, and teenagers, right, with cars. The problem has happened in town is people got comfortable with empty, and no one will say it, but they got comfortable with several empty houses on the street with no cars whatsoever. And so it just upsets me when I hear the whole conversation framed about, oh, well, we hate short-term rentals, we want community, we want every house with full-time people.
Well,
So there would be
you're correct. And let me state that from the town. We do not hate short-term rentals. We do not do that at all. And so I do want to pull your attention. So I've gotten you through the forms at this point and process. So I want to come back to the zoning ordinance really quick if I can. We did give some new definitions. We tell you where STRs are allowed by zoning district, and we've listed all of those on page 1 and part of page 2. I really do want to focus at the bottom of page 2, our purpose and intent, because I don't want anybody to walk away thinking this town does not want STRs. We do. The council didn't go through this with the thought of how do we get rid of STRs. We don't. We don't want to get rid of STRs. We recognize they are a livelihood, they're necessary in our community, and they are part of our community and have been for a long time. We just now know that we need to establish some rules and regulations to help govern their use that are occurring in residential neighborhoods. And so that's what we've done here. So with that said, in our purpose and intent, I'm going to read it just because I want to make sure we're all hearing it. It's to regulate the STRs, and they're common in America today, including in this town. Given, however, that they are commercial uses which must coexist with residential uses, and often in neighborhoods that are not designed for commercial activity, limits and regulations are needed. And the rest of this article is to provide the requirements to allow these certain limited commercial uses in our town zoning districts containing residential uses per Article 3, which governs all the zoning districts. So we do have a strong belief in STR. So I want everybody to walk away here. This community is committed to continued partnership with STRs being viable in our community. We want them to be regulations that accommodate an STR's owners and operators' limited commercial use in a way that is safe for the guest, meets our town requirements, does not change the character of the town, and fits in with the districts in which the STRs operate. And it's to work in tandem with our business license requirements as contained in the town code, and as a measure for the town to monitor the number of STRs and to enforce our regulations. And again, this is where we give you the 1-year grace period that is written to this ordinance. It is only good for this first year of this ordinance, and that grace period goes away after 2025 ends. All the rest talks about our permitting requirements, which is what surfaced in the documents you just went through. So you're welcome to read through all of these as you care to and have time to. Again, every STR owner, property owner, will receive this as well. Two things that we didn't talk about, but I want to flag for you under the permitting requirements. If the property is governed by a homeowners or condominium association, we will need proof as part of that application process that they allow STRs under that homeowners association documents. We've already mentioned this will be renewed on an annual basis for all of us. All 3 of our permitting requirements will be annually renewed. If there's any change to information on the short-term rental zoning permit application, so it's not necessarily that they sold to a new owner, but if they chose a different management company, or they're not using the same management company, or their 24/7 contact information changed, that needs to be provided to us within 10 business days, so we update all of our information of that new information. As we've referenced, any change in ownership has to be notified to my office within 20 days, both to my office, to Ryan, to obtain a new business license under that new owner's name, and then over to the building official to get a new safety inspection done on the property. As I've mentioned, any owner has to give us all their information as to who's in that corporation, limited partnership, or any other entity in which they're operating on that is not under John Doe. Okay? The other thing is we do indicate that they can only operate 5 short-term rentals within the entire town. So as a LLC or corporate name or individual name, we are limiting you to only 5 of these. Okay?
So property managers get to manage as many as they like?
Yes. This is only about ownership.
Get your licenses.
There is the ability for a sublease or lessee to sublease that STR within that property. That is only allowed to occur once if they are in one short-term rental. Okay? I know that sounds a little confusing. So if you happen to be renting, I don't know, for the whole year, a property in Jefferson Avenue, that house, but you need to go out of town for whatever reason for 2 months or 3 months, you could operate within those 3 months. If your lease allowed it, you could rent that out as an STR. It is allowed under this ordinance if your underlying lease allows that capacity.
Is this specifically for any property or only residential?
Wherever an STR is allowed under those zoning districts that are all referenced on page 1 and 2. It may, if that commercial property has been, so I'm going to pick on C1, which is Mason Avenue. So we have short-term rentals occurring on the second stories above Mason Avenue commercial products.
Right. So can those ones, under their business license, can those ones have a business license for STR as a sublet?
So I'm going to pick on Clelia. She's above Lemon Tree. There's 2 apartments that are going in on that second story that have been converted that I know will be, I believe, STRs moving forward. They are STRs. Thank you, Connie. So she could be managed that herself, or she could have hired one of you to manage her property for her. I do not know what her conditions are. But with that said, say she gets a long-term tenant in there who's there for 6 months. That's not an STR. They're allowed to have a long-term tenant in there by right. That long-term tenant decides they're going to go away for a whole month in July. They're a teacher and they're only renting it for that 6 months, but they're out of here for July because they're going back to, I don't know, Colorado. they could potentially get a business license if their lease allows them to do a sublet and do it as an STR for that period of time. That's an example behind that. Go ahead.
So I think one short-term rental, maybe the language, maybe it's my language issue.
Sure.
At the moment, is a short-term rental being the property itself or a short-term rental being
The lessee.
the actual booking?
The lessee.
Okay.
So I'm going to pick on myself. Say I'm the lessee to one of Clearly's units above the studio. I can't have another lessee unit elsewhere in town. I can only do this once. That's what it means. Yes. Okay. And I'm going to throw this out because this happens, say, Festive Fridays is a great example. We have a lot of people who are now choosing to look to rent during Festive Fridays for a shorter term period, maybe 3 days or 5 days. It's still less than the 30 days, which defines an STR. So if you're renting 30 days or less, then you are a short-term rental. You are an STR. If you're renting longer than 30 days, you are not an STR. You are a long-term rental, and that's a different conversation we should be having. Does that make sense to everybody? I know we haven't focused on this a lot. This is a request we put into the ordinance, hasn't received a lot of attention, but we just want to make you aware of it. Yep.
The insurance nightmare that we created with this whole idea of a lessee being able to do an STR, and that's, I mean, I've heard, I mean, if you talk about, I mean, if you're concerned with safety issues and so forth, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's something that's not fair to a consumer that comes in and perhaps thinks that they have proper protections stay in there, because if something happens.
So that's why we urge you as management companies to really address this with your ownership, with your property owners.
That is likely a liability issue just waiting to happen.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick run through all the rest of this because there are a couple other points I want to make. I know we're trying to get you guys out of here relatively soon. I'm going to hit you down under additional requirements. Number 4 is a big one for us. Commercial gatherings providing direct or indirect compensation. That may include, but is not limited to, luncheons, banquets, parties, weddings, charitable fundraising, commercial or advertising activities, or other similar occurrences are prohibited. So what we mean by that is 123 Plum Street. You cannot put that out there as Wedding Chapel of Cape Charles and have that be a permanent wedding venue for the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks of STR season during the summer. That's what we mean. Can a private property owner or renter have a wedding on that property? Yes, if they're not charging anything for it. Their daughter's getting married here in town and they want to have the wedding here in town, and you want to rent 123 Plum Street to do that, you can do that. But if it becomes a wedding venue where you're receiving compensation for that, serving as a wedding venue all the time, no. We will consider that a violation of this ordinance.
For family reunions of 100 people?
If you can try and cram it in, you could do that as long as you're not considering that a commercial venue. You're not charging them fees, you're not charging food service, beer service, anything of that nature for somebody to come in with a ticket. You get an entry to the Smith family reunion. Sorry.
Free t-shirts.
So what about wedding planners that may book your STR? Sorry.
If the property is being used and advertised and receiving compensation because it is for a commercial gathering, then that's going to be a violation of this ordinance. So that's all I'm going to tell you and say on this. I'm not going to really speculate on potential what-ifs until we get there, candidly. We would have to investigate each and every circumstance to determine if it's in violation of this ordinance. Okay? With that said, that's a big piece of this, is yes, we will be receiving complaints. We will be having to investigate. That's what Jack will be doing in my office. That's what I will be doing in my office. I think we may have additional staff coming on board to help with some of this compliance issue. As already referenced here, you're going to need to post your business license, and emergency information must be posted inside each rental, including the 24/7 contact information, which I'm sure is already occurring for you guys. We have now also updated the town zoning ordinance as of the December meeting, and we had some slight changes to signage requirements. We're going to flesh that out a little bit more and get that information out, but we will have some changes coming forward on signage of how you advertise the STRs. The signs that are out there for properties that are from, I'm going to be honest and candid, from the real estate companies, just with a big sign saying this is an STR, that size will no longer meet our current zoning ordinance. What's been adopted. We will be getting some additional information out here in the next week or so as to what are those requirements for signage on these properties. We've talked about the refuse requirements. The other one that we want to make you aware of is we have under our town code a noise ordinance. That actually got updated more than a year ago. We will be following any complaints under that noise ordinance and dealing with that through that town code section as well. We've talked about the safety equipment and the inspections done by our building official. Yes, Christy.
I just wanted to let you know, we've actually incorporated a few various types of devices. They're not invasive. A party squasher. It's basically a thing that hooks to the modem, and you can see how many Wi-Fi capable devices that are in the property. That way you know that your property is over-occupied. There is another, it's noise awareness that is in the property, and it collects the decimals. Obviously, if they go over a certain decimal, then we go there and investigate.
That's great to know.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying, I mean, you get it. So we want to start incorporating things that make us, compliant.
So let's talk about this, about violations, because all of page 5 and part of page 6 deals with the violations. So I just want to, I'm not going to read through all these, but how will we go about investigating? Part of this is our first line of defense is going to be we're calling the 24/7 contact first. If somebody calls the town with a complaint, we're coming to you guys first with the 24/7 contact and say, we just got a complaint, whether it be noise, whether it be trash issues, whether it be a parking issue, whether it be they're driving their golf cart erratically with their 12-year-old kid doing it or their 5-year-old kid doing it. We're coming to you first to say, here's what we've received. Let us know. Go do your work for us and report back to us. And we will be having an expectation that we hear back from you within a reasonable period of time. Depending on what the magnitude of the problem is, it could be 2 hours or it could be 24/7 hours that we say we need to hear back from you by this time. Part of this, again, our new software will help monitorize that for us and will be done electronically, and those communications will happen that way. But right now, it is still going to be the old-fashioned way: phone, text, email. From there, we then will determine, okay, that could be a violation. There's a process that I am required to do if it's a zoning violation, how we enforce that and how it moves through the system. Some of these are going to be town code violations. They have a different process of review and how they get handled. The town code ones are dealing with noise, trash, and your TOT.
Delinquency.
Yes, delinquency, real estate, and TOT. Everything else in here is zoning. That's me. What happens if you are found in violation under the zoning ordinance and you have, I think it's 2 or more, I'm going to get this wrong, I should have read this again, 2 violations of safety building code, 2 violations of occupants. There are various things that could happen. But if you achieve any of those number of violations in 1 calendar year, your STR permit will be revoked for the subsequent calendar year. So if it happens in 2025, you can still operate, continue all your contracts through 2025, but you will not be receiving a contract. You will not be getting a permit in 2026.
For every 2 violations?
It depends on which it is. You'd have to look through all of the violation types to see what would trigger that. So it could be as simple as you failed to get your business license and somebody was operating a STR without getting any of their permits from the town. Or taught. They didn't get a business license, they didn't get their TOT, they didn't get a safety inspection, they thought they'd fly under the radar. That's a violation, and we're going to deal with that.
So these are serious teeth.
Yes.
Bite backs. Very serious. That's people's income.
So the process of a violation is there's a lot of rules on me to notify the property owner, and that is who I notify. You may be the property manager, you're going to be CC'd and notified of all these communications, but it's going to the property owner if they're in violation. And I have to give them certain timeframes to respond to, provide documentation, provide other evidence to contradict what I'm claiming is the violation. So if you are using something like, I love that, Party Squasher, that helps me to learn, wait, there was no way they could have had this level of activity or people or noise going on in their property. That can be supplied as part of that to say this violation really is not valid, and we will now move forward and cancel the violation. We will find no cause and effect here, no violation. So there is the opportunity every single time we do an investigation for that sort of information to be supplied to help us clear up our information to determine if there's a violation or not. That's where we are today. Is this going to be something that can be revised in the future? Probably. I'm not going to lie, it probably will be. A lot of information will come from us as the staff, providing us how this year has gone. This is a lot of new information coming into our offices for the first time. So we have a lot of data gathering that we're going to be providing to the town council. Over the last year, we did provide them real numbers of how many STRs were operating in this community. And we know between Bay Creek and the rest of the town how many STRs there are legally operating in this community.
How many?
Is it
How many STRs are there at Bay Creek?
I think it's 328, 330, somewhere around that number.
I've been here for 9 years, and in 2016, we did 16 rental inspections. Last year, it was 214 of 2020.
But that did not account Bay Creek.
And that doesn't count Bay Creek, which will now bump that up to like 350.
Yes.
So thanks for understanding.
We've got a lot to do, and we're professional about this. We would like you all to be professional about this, and don't make us have to come looking for you.
So here, my last comment out to all of you is give us another 2 weeks. We will have pages going up on our website dedicated just to the short-term rental program. All of this information will go up. It will be found on Jeb's page, my page of planning and zoning, on the treasurer's page. All the same information will be there so that you don't have to go hunting through all of our website pages to figure out where's that form, where's it. We are going to put up a very specific short-term rental, and it's going to say vacation rental. And I'm going to tell you why we're doing that. Everybody calls it STRs. I need to start moving away and keep calling it vacation rentals because there are other short-term rentals in this community that have nothing to do with vacation rentals. Mopeds, bikes, boats, those are all considered short-term rentals under the treasurer's world. And they still have to get licenses for those operations, and they are actually called short-term rentals by state code. It's very confusing. So when you go to our pages in 2 weeks, we're going to have a very dedicated page. It's going to say short-term rental and then parentheses vacation homeowners or vacation homes ordinance and all this information. We will continue to add a frequently asked questions section to that and throw these questions that we got this morning onto that. The links to all of these forms will be on that page as well, so you can always find it there. Please submit your questions to us. Submit comments and corrections that you think we should be making to our forms, both to myself for all the zoning ones, for the building stuff, the safety inspection, to Jeb, the treasurer, for her forms, submit it to Marion. All of our cards are on the back table. If there are any other questions, otherwise I'm going to let you go. There's one more.
In the interim of having that online, can we get this packet in a PDF form?
Yes, actually I'm going to turn to Jack, or I don't know where all this is right now on our webpage, because I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. I'm going to keep saying that because I love it. Jack, where might they find the current ordinance itself?
If you go to the planning and zoning department page, on the zoning ordinance page, at the way bottom, there's the final approved short-term rental ordinance, or I could just send it to you as well.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I think we've got everybody's email who was here today, so we can do out a blast to everybody of this document.
That'd be perfect.
Okay? Yes, sir.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Then, everybody get up. I want to thank you, Treasurer, for Kathy, Jeb, and you, public officials, all of you. I know that you receive a lot of questions and a lot of complaints. It's human nature. But in this 7 years that we have resided here, we have watched the town professionalize its services in a marvelous way. And you have, I know, worked very hard to make that happen.
Oh, come say that to the microphone.
Get that recorded so our boss can hear that.
Can you put that in writing?
No problem.
I'm gonna pass out.
I just want to thank all the public officials that are here, all the servants, because in the 7 years that we have resided here and operated a short-term rental, we have seen so much progress, a tremendous amount of professionalism and, work, hard work behind it. Of course, the city fathers or your mothers are also part of that process, but it's a real pleasure. And I am very thankful for today's meeting, for the tremendous preparation that you made for it and make things clear. And it adds to the pleasure of being a resident of Cape Charles.
We appreciate your
Thank you,
comments.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Christy, you had your hand up.
Well, I just kind of wanted to touch base back on the sale of a property. So ultimately, would I still be able to have it advertised? I've applied for the business license like 20 days prior to the closing of the real estate transaction. I've squeezed you in between the guests on a Wednesday, and I have all the two, the inspection and the business license, my tot and everything. All the paperwork is done by closing day. And I'm still good to have it advertised.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And I throw out to you, we actually have what's called an owner affidavit form in our office. And for those who do construction or renovation, we require that all the time. Whether you're representing the builder or the property owner, if you're not the actual property owner coming in for the permits, we say, let me have the owner affidavit. You're the agent representing that property. And we want their signature saying they've hired you to do this and they know you're applying for these things. Same thing can happen for a sale of a STR. You can go ahead and start that in advance of the sale happening. Just give us the owner affidavit letting us know Joe Smith is getting ready to sell this property. He's engaging Jim Hunky-Door, to buy his property, and Jim Hunky-Door can go ahead and start applying for the STR permit now.
Awesome.
There was a ton of consideration on the table for council regarding this issue.
Wonderful.
And there was, back and forth of how many days we should have to be able to turn over the paperwork. And basically what it boils down to is if you all come to us and are open and honest about the information, we're going to do what we can.
Proactive about it.
Yes.
We're proactive.
We're as proactive as we can be.
Yeah.
And if anybody who's ever dealt with us says any different, I don't
You've
know what we're talking
you've always been proactive
So,
with me as
yeah,
well.
we're not here to kill,
Damper.
we're not here to
Yeah.
kill
No.
people's financials. We're not.
And-
We're not at all.
And my office, the treasurer's office, they may not be as utilizing as much at the moment, but in Jeb's office as well, we all have access into the clerk's records up in Eastville. And so we do, when an application comes through, I am verifying ownership information. And if it doesn't jibe, or when I've called up to the treasurer, up to the clerk's office in Eastville going, is there a document that hasn't been recorded yet? Did something get in that you haven't put in electronically? I am verifying, is there a sale pending? Or it's been filed but they haven't processed it, or what's going on? I am verifying all that before it's moving up through the treasurer's office to get finalized. So we can always go look for that information too. We will do it, and again, if you call us and let us know that there's a sale pending, we'll ask for that information just so we're tracking it along the way. And if the sale collapses, because that happens from time to time, same thing, we will be checking and saying, wait, this didn't happen, so I'll be notifying the treasurer's office, sale collapse, I'll confirm with you guys it didn't happen, then we will cancel any business license that may have been processed. That's her call, So yeah, our goal is to work with you through this process, and we recognize this is brand new for this community to have an STR zoning ordinance. So we still have some bumps we know are going to come forward, and we're happy to hear them, log them, and report back to the town council how this has gone over this year.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much. There's still some food, please. Thank you all.